What is up, PICA fans? My name is Bob and Fishy, coach of the Philadelphia Shuckles, and I'm coming at you with a weekly recap for Week 6. How you guys doing? I hope you're really enjoying all these Pokemon battles that we've been doing for you, but all that aside, we are going to get down to cold hard statistics and break down exactly what went down this week. So, we're going to start off with our matchups. We're going to start with the Middle-earth Magmortars versus the Denver Dashers. Now, the Magmortars were going into this one 4-1, Denver Dashers 3-2. That's a pretty close matchup, and it actually has playoff implications. Prior to this week, both of these teams were leading their division, so these guys could potentially meet in the playoffs and maybe duke it out. This is a good way to figure out who's going to win that matchup if it happens later. Give both teams an opportunity to prepare, see what they can do better, all that stuff. So, what went down? The Middle-earth Magmortars ended up winning this one 3-0. There was a semi-critical Focus Blast miss early on with the Denver Dashers for Uniclus. That could have mattered a bit, but it was kind of a wear-down game for the Magmortars until they could get Kieran Black in and just start wreaking havoc. So, this was a very good match. I highly recommend you check it out. Links to all the matches will be on the spreadsheet, which will be in the description, so if you guys want to check these things out, feel free to click that and check everything out. We've got all the stats, all of everything. Next up, Toronto Tyrantrums versus the Iowa Focus Energy. Now, the Toronto Tyrantrums have not been doing as well as many people thought they would. However, they have picked up some good wins against some good teams. The Iowa Focus Energy, they've been kind of in a rut lately, so they're definitely looking to take everything back. But the Tyrantrums ended up getting a very early lead, KOing Licky Licky, and that really allowed them to just kind of build up a lot of offensive presence, take advantage of that early lead, and just kind of wear down the Focus Energy. And, of course, they did have Victini. They have all the offensive threats, so they ended up taking this one 2-0. It was really good match. A lot of these were very good, but that one was I'm not going to say I didn't see it coming. I kind of did, but, it's one of those things that you really have to see to kind of understand what happened. So, we've also got the South Park Electrodes versus the Jackson Jumpluffs. Going into this one, the Electrodes are definitely on my radar as one of the best teams in the league, and the Jumpluffs, with their new coach Vec, have not been doing super hot. Now, this isn't Vec's fault. The team that was kind of that he inherited, maybe not the best setup guys, but he did have a pretty nasty lineup for this battle. He had Tyranitar, Mega Kicky guy. Basically, he had an Escavalier, which I was like, whoa, Escavalier, and he had Nidoking. So, Nidoking is one of the better offensive threats. However, during the trade window, he has traded his Galvantula. His team, in my opinion, really required that Galvantula to do well, so I don't think that was his best trade. He ended up losing this one 3-0. He just got worn down over the course of everything. He lost a couple of walls, and after that, he just didn't have anything left. He was worn away. It was a shame to watch because his team was actually very threatening with Kofi Grigas and stuff. But the the South Park Electrodes, they've been really nasty. So watch out for them. Next up, we've got the Squim Malamars versus the DMR Shadow Absols. Now, Robotnik is Sexy has been in a bit of a rut. He went through a bit of a rut. He's had a lot of hacks and just general not doing so hot. So he's been looking to get back to his winning ways, and he did against Cedric. Now, Scarf Diggersby was definitely the difference maker in this one. Early on against the Mesprit, I think? No, something like that. Threw a nasty Scarf U-turn at it, took it down to its sash, and then he just brought in the Skunk Tank, who proceeded to hit a nice Sucker Punch, and then just defog away the rocks that they had set up. Basically, he was able to neutralize a very potent, Mesprit? Something like that. And just managed to eliminate one of his opponent's Pokemon without it actually managing to accomplish anything. And when you are down, basically 6 versus 5 against Robotnik, he really knows how to take advantage of that. So looking at that, that was definitely something that he was able to take advantage of and score a nice win. He also managed to neutralize the Thunderous incarnate form pretty well, in my opinion. Just that Diggersby able to threaten it out, or not threaten it out, but basically prevent it from doing anything and just killing it. So that was definitely a good match in his favor. Next up, my match of the week, actually. This was a huge match for me. The Berkhamsted Bastiodons versus the Chelsea Shandies. Now, the Shandies had been 5-1 going into this one, and were looking to stay ahead in their division. They've got, in my opinion, the most powerful division. It's them, the Tyrantrums, and the Malamars. And you look at that, all 3 of these teams are what I would consider playoff-worthy teams, and at most 2 of them are going to make it to the playoffs, which is really, it's a shame for the playoff picture, but at the same time, it creates a lot of drama in every regular season game because they need to win all of them. So, the Berkhamsted Bastiodons, they had not been doing amazingly hot. They've been, kind of alternating win-loss, win-loss. They were 2-3 going into this, and they really needed a win. And they ended up picking up a huge 5-0 win against Mikey. Now, that's amazing for me. The Chelsea Shandies had been probably my number 1 team every week, except for last week, in which they got taken over by the Middle-earth Magmortars. These guys got absolutely dominated. And it all came down to Gargleflop making a lot of really ballsy moves with his Garchomp. He viewed it as being kind of expendable, and it ended up taking out a lot of his opponent's team. His Sceptile put in major work. I think it was his only death, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, it was worth it for him to be able to keep that offensive pressure up there. Mikey will probably bounce back from this. I can't see him not, but at the same time, he's now 4-2, just like every other team in his division. So that race is really, really close. If you're going to follow any one division, follow that one, because it's probably the closest one there is. And probably the most skillful, actually. And last match, my match, versus the Atlanta Braviaries. So Philadelphia Shuckles versus the Atlanta Braviaries. Now the Braviaries have a lot of very good defensive threats, but I was able to bring my Rain. I haven't actually brought that too many times this season, but the Rain definitely put a lot of offensive pressure on him, and even though I didn't actually end up taking too much advantage of it, it made him really have to play super safe with his Vaporeon, and that ended up giving me extra turns to wear down everything else. So that's basically how I won that one. I managed to Toxic his Cresselia very early, and then Thunderous Therian managed to sweep basically an endgame sweep, 5 guys, basically. It was pretty amazing. So that was actually, that's all the matches. I wanted to get through everything kind of quick. Let's go ahead and check out my power rankings, because I do have power rankings. I'm going to omit myself, just because I think that, my opinions might be not even necessarily skewed towards myself, more skewed against myself. But I'll tell you, I'm somewhere around halfway down. So, we are going by record first, and then how I think teams play and stuff. So, a 4-1 team will always be ahead of a 3-3 team. 4-2 team will always be ahead of a 3-3 team. Because, basically, they're doing better. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. Now, I sort of took quality of opponents into consideration, but at the same time, I also just considered quality of team. I think that was what I put more emphasis on. So let's go ahead and check everything out. Number 1, we've got the Middle-earth Magmortars at 5-1. They are probably, they've had the most success out of any team. They haven't necessarily run into some of the top teams in the game, and their one loss has come against the Chelsea Shandies, who are now 4-2. But at the same time, they've been winning a lot of games, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So they are my number 1 team. Number 2, actually same division, the South Park Electrodes. Now, I agonized over whether to put them at 2 or 3. I think that 2 is, I think they earned their 2 spot. They're 4-2, and they are in hot pursuit of those Mega Mortars. Basically, they've got a really, really nasty team, and their Mega is one of the best in the game. It's really, really hard to prepare for, Mega Slowbro. So, I've got to put them at number 2. Number 3, the Squim Malamars. They have beaten the Toronto Tyrantrums, so I had to put them above the Tyrantrums. And it was just a matter of whether they got 2 or 3. They had a little rough spot in weeks 3 and 4, but they've managed to bounce back, and they are... Or sorry, was it week... they had a rough spot at points, but they have been winning their games, and yeah, they're just brutal. Robotnik plans very well, so I think that going forward, he's going to keep that up. As long as he doesn't get hacked out, it's going to be very difficult to beat him. Number 4, Toronto Tyrantrums. Now, again, this was either him or Mikey in this slot, but he beat Mikey, so I had to put him ahead of him. Toronto Tyrantrums, coached by George, aka Mariner, aka Technoblade, aka why does this guy have so many names? They're one of the most I'd say they're the most dangerous offensive team between Victini, Heracross, even Tyrantrum to a lesser extent. These guys are brutal. They're really difficult to prepare for just because they have all sorts of defensive threats as well as offensive threats. They've got good pivots. They've got very good everything, and they can set up however they want. So, yeah, probably, I'd say they definitely deserve that spot. Next up, we've got the Chelsea Shandies. Now, they did lose to Gargle Flop, but I'm still putting them at number 5. Again, they still have a better record. They're 4-2, and basically, yeah, that's that entire division right there. The Diamond Division makes up numbers 3 through 5. Mikey he prepares very well, I think, and he's just been able to put on a very good display of dominance. He was 4-1. He had one of the best KDs in the league. I think he was only behind the Middle Earth Mag Mortars. So yeah, that tells you anything. He's been very good. This week, losing to the Bastiodons as convincingly as he did, I think that's an anomaly, and I look for him to bounce back very, very strong, so I would not want to be his next opponent. But, next up, the Berkhamsted Bastiodons. Now, this is coached by Gargleflop, one of my favorite guys, and he always prepares in a really interesting way. I think now that he's gotten a couple of games under his belt with this team, I think he's going to be very comfortable with it, and I do look for him to potentially win his next matchup. He has been lamenting the fact that he hasn't been able to string together 2 wins, but I think that's going to change. Spoilers for my predictions, but anyways, he's 3-3. I think he's the best 3-3 team there is, and I think that next week he'll be 4-3. Next up, we got the Denver Dashers. Now, these guys are in my division, so I would like to put them lower, cough cough, but these guys are good. Scoria Limit inherited a very good team, and I think once he gets the hang of the draft format and, maybe makes a couple of trades, I don't know, I think he could potentially be one of the more dangerous teams in the league. Mega Lopunny, I always kind of underestimated it, but it's been very good for him. It's one of the MVPs of the league so far. And I think that if he's going to continue on with, this team, he'll be able to build up a lot of swagginess. Anyways, next up, we've got the Iowa Focus Energy. Not doing so hot. They're sitting at 2-4, but at the same time, he is a veteran battler. He knows what he's doing. I think that he's going to be able to string together a couple of wins. I don't see him sticking around that 2-win area. And I think he's the better of the 2-4 teams, just because he made his team himself. Speaking of, number 9, the Atlanta Braviaries. Now, these guys are coached by Momo Brima, but they were originally made by TIE Fighter 23, I think. Yeah, I think that's his number. Now, Ty put together a ludicrously bulky team, and I don't think that's necessarily Momo Brima's forte. I think he likes to use a lot more offensive stuff, so he hasn't been doing super hot just because it's just not been his type of game. But if he makes a couple of trades, I can definitely see him putting together a really good team. So that's going to take us to our last two teams. This one was kind of a toss-up between the DMR Shadow Absols and the Jackson Jumpluffs. I put the Absols above the Jumpluffs just because I think that the Absols have a more threatening team on paper. Now, I've heard people say Cedric's play has been kind of what's keeping them back, but at the same time, with a team this threatening, you look at these guys, they're just amazing. He's got Bisharp, he's got Staraptor, he's got Thundurus Incarnate. These guys are nasty. If you kind of like rest on them or anything, they will kill you. So, you gotta watch out for that. And then, of course, number 11, the Jackson Jumpluffs. These guys are coached by Vec. He's picked up one win with them, but he did trade away his Galvantula, and I've said it before, I don't think that was the best move. Now, his team is very offensively threatening, but at the same time, it's kind of slow, and I think that that's the sort of thing that opponents who prepare well can take advantage of. So, gonna want to maybe pick up some more speed there, dude. Not telling you what to do or anything, but at the same time, I can't validate, with a 1-5 record, and I don't think their team is as threatening as the Absols. I gotta put them in last. Sorry, guys. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at division leaders and stuff, because that's what we do. Anyway, the Sapphire Division currently being led by the Berkhamsted Bastiodons. However, they are only 3-3, so it's kind of a toss-up between anybody in that division. If the Bastiodons lose, it could be anybody's race, and it's close enough that we've got a lot of time left to play. Next up, the Ruby Division. The Middle-earth Magmortars are currently leading that one at 5-1. However, the Electrodes are rolling. They've got a nasty team. This could be either team's race, but until Josh makes a mistake and loses to a team that he shouldn't, I don't see them losing generally. And yeah, I don't see them dropping out of first place in that division. The Diamond Division is currently a three-way tie between the Squim Malamars, Tyranto Tyrantrums, and the Chelsea Shandies. This division can go any way, but yeah, they're all very, very good teams. I do predict that whatever team wins this division will end up having to go up against a wild card from the same division. I see the wild card in that side going to one of these teams. That it's definitely the strongest division all around. It's just brutal. And of course, last, the Pearl Division, currently tied between the Denver Dashers and the Philly Shuckles, my team. But yeah, they're both at 3-3. Denver Dashers, they picked up a win over the Shuckles, so I don't know whether we're going by KD or who beat who for division. If it's like a tied division. If it's by KD, the Shuckles are going to take it, but if it's by who beat whom, Shuckles did lose to the Dashers earlier this season, so, but again, at 3-3, both of those teams, it could go either way. You got to string together wins, or else you just won't go to the playoffs. So, next up, we're going to go ahead and look at our MVP of the week, and I know I said I wasn't going to name drop my own team, but statistically speaking, Thundurus T picked up 5 kills in the match against the Atlanta Braviaries. You can't beat that. He went 5 kills, no deaths for the week. There's the only other thing that has done anything like that was the Middle-earth Magmortars Florges in week 2 when he 6-0'd tie with it. Yeah, he's been just just statistically, that is the second best Pokemon, or the second best week a Pokemon has had. No, wait, hold up. Did Mikey sweep with a Snorlax? I don't remember whether he killed 5 guys or 6. Something like that. But it's, up there in terms of just best week for a Pokemon. And last but not least, my picks for next week. And again, I won't be picking my own game. Cough, cough, I think I'm gonna win. But we're not gonna say anything about that. So, we're going to go ahead and look at it. Toronto Tyrantrums versus the Atlanta Braviaries. I got the Tyrantrums. They've got the better record. They've got a really, really nasty team, and George knows how to use what he's got. Momo Brima could potentially bring up enough walls and just enough pressure to beat him, but until he shows me that he's going to, be able to do that, it's really hard to pick against the Tyrantrums. They won last year. The guy knows what he's doing. Next up, we've got the Squib Malamars versus the South Park Electrodes. I've actually got the Electrodes in this. I think they have a good matchup against the Malamars team, and I just think that it's going to be really hard for the Malamars to deal with both, what's it called? Azumarill and Mamoswine. Those things are very brutal. If you let them, if you give them an inch, they will take a mile, and they will absolutely hammer things in. So I do predict them taking it, but Malamars could fight back. You never know. I never count Robotnik out, especially after his game against Gargleflop. But that said, I will take the Electrodes as the safer bet. Next up, we've got the Middle-earth Magmortars versus the Chelsea Shandies. This is going to be a really, really brutal battle. It's probably going to be my match of the week next week if I have to pick one, just based off of what it looks like. But this huge playoff implications. Two of the teams with the best records going up against each other. I've got the Magmortars. I think that their team is scarier. Not that the Shandies aren't scary, but I think the Magmortars plan very well, and I think that between Talonflame and Kieran Black and Mega Manectric, they've got enough stuff that can potentially really just take advantage of the Shandies' weak points. So, I've got them. Next up, Berkhamsted Bastiodons versus the Jackson Jumpluffs. Now, the Jumpluffs are my number 11 team. I can't really pick them against the Bastiodons. Gargleflop is, I think, going to get into a groove, and he's going to just roll. If he brings anything fast, the Jumpluffs really don't have a lot to deal with it. And, yeah, Gargleflop plays very well, especially once he gets used to what he's using. It's really hard to pick against him. Next up, the Denver Dashers versus the Iowa Focus Energy. Now, going based on just on statistics, it's got to be the Dashers. They do have technically a better record, and the Iowa Focus Energy just have not shown me that they can handle what the Dashers can throw at them with that Mega Lopunny and stuff. I am predicting the Dashers will take this one against the Focus Energy, but don't tell Nick because he'll get mad at me and kick me out of the league. Anyways, my match of the week. We're gonna say this right now, wrap everything up with it, and it's the one that I think that you should go watch if you are interested in looking at PICA games. It's got to be the Bastiodons versus the Shandies. It was a huge upset, and it was like a dominating upset against a really good team. I think that this was one of the ones that you can just look at and say like, wow, Gargleflop, you done did good. So that's the one that I would look at and say, like, this is the match to show people PICA if you're going to show people PICA. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this little recap. It took, 23 minutes? Sorry about that. But at the same time, it's I've got a lot of information to throw at you. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next week. Later!